Thank you for joining me here on another edition of Teaching American History. I am your host, Mr. Joseph Provost, history teacher and student of history at Liberty University. Today we're going to explore the question of how Christianity formed the founding of this country. From its very beginnings in the Americas, we find a Christian presence. From the beginnings in New Mexico with the Franciscan missionaries trying to convert the Pueblo Indians, who were not quite successful as they had hoped because the Indians did not truly have a conversion. Rather, they added a few things that the missionaries asked them to do, but they never truly abandoned their old ways. But we still find, as that is a beginning in the early days, and we have in Florida, we had some more Franciscan missions there, some Spanish missions there, where we find a Christian presence. To the north, above us, in New France, we find the Catholics, we find the Catholic explorers, we find those that tried to teach the faith to the Algonquin Indians, to the Hurons. Unfortunately, the Iroquois had a lot to say there in their warfare, and many of those missionaries were killed because of their faith, and they were martyred for that. But to the north and to the south, we find a true presence, a real presence of Christianity. We also find the Puritans when they come over, when they established the Mayflower Compact. It is a very Christian document. It is a document that is relying upon Almighty God, that what they were doing, their separation from England after going to Holland and finding some difficulties there, this journey across the ocean, when many people got sick and died, to make it to this point, to draft a document of cooperation, of brotherhood, to say we are going to live in a society of love and of understanding and of right judgment. And what we do is going to be for the glory of God, and we will take care of each other, but there has to be rules of sorts. So from the very beginning, in the Northeast, we find this Christianity. We even find this same kind of Christianity in the middle colonies. Pennsylvania was a colony that had a plethora of different religious bodies. We had the Society of Friends, the Quakers. We had the Scots-Irish coming over. We had different Germans coming over. We had the Moravians. We've had you had a small portion of Catholics, not too many. We had all different versions. You had the Church of England, which not only in Pennsylvania was it very large, but also it was the primary religious body in the southern colonies in Virginia and the Carolinas. So we find that there is a religious context for this country in the colonial era, and that only continued. And I would say that with the preaching of George Whitefield in the 1740s and the Great Awakening, we find people like Benjamin Franklin explaining how George Whitefield would explain things in a way that were just magnificent. He would hold the attention of over 20,000 people, according to a primary source document. And we even find Jonathan Edwards explaining how it was magnificent, the conversion of the people. Now, while this lasted for so long, this could only fester, I would say, for a period of time. There were some struggles with the Baptists in trying to find their place, as well as some of the other congregations at the time. And then we also had the Mennonites coming over. We had the Scotch-Irish. We had the Quakers. We've had we mentioned the Baptists. So all these different groups are kind of in a melting pot. And I would really say that from the north, the New England colonies, to the south, we have the Virginia and some others. There was, like I said, an Anglican presence in the south. There was a Puritan presence in the north. But in the center, I would argue that the center really had the foundation of what would later become America's founding as the United States of America, especially in Pennsylvania, where we find that melting pot. We find the Society of Friends, the Quakers. We find a small version of Catholics. We find the French Huguenots. We find all of these different groups there together, which would later become, I would say, the blueprint for the United States of America and the First Amendment rights that we hold today. So absolutely essential to understand that without these initial founding fathers, there would be no America today from our standpoint.